From Sovereign to Slave, The Hidden History of Corporate America Part 1. You were born into a system built on contracts, control, and consent. What if the America you were taught to love was only a shadow of a republic that once existed? What if the truth was buried beneath paperwork, war powers, and silence? The Constitutional Republic versus the Corporate United States. In 1776, the founders declared a new nation, one built on natural law, individual sovereignty, and voluntary union among free states. Each person was considered a sovereign being, with unalienable rights endowed by the Creator. But by the end of the Civil War, that vision had changed. In 1868, the 14th Amendment was ratified, creating a new class of citizenship, not sovereigns of states, but subjects of federal jurisdiction. The phrase was clear: all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. This was not just a definition, it was a reclassification. The rise of the strawman, a legal fiction, the birth of the corporate person. With the passage of the 14th Amendment, a new identity was created, a legal fiction. When you were born, your name was written in all capital letters, John Doe. This was not you, the living soul. This was your corporate twin, a trust account, a vessel, a commercial identity. This person was property of the United States Corporation, established officially through the Act of 1871, which created a corporate government for the District of Columbia. The Act of 1871 and the death of the Republic marked a shift in sovereignty from republic to corporation. In 1871, Congress passed the District of Columbia Organic Act. This act did more than organize the nation's capital, it created a municipal corporation known as the United States. Visual, U.S. Capitol Rotunda morphing into a stock ticker tape. It was not a republic, it was a business entity. The true government was quietly shelved, replaced by a parallel system of administration that would operate under the illusion of freedom while enforcing a commercial code. This new United States would not govern under the Constitution. It would issue corporate statutes, regulate commerce, and treat its citizens not as sovereigns, but as employees and assets. The Emergency Banking Takeover. The 1933 Emergency Banking Relief Act. The Emergency Banking Takeover, a banking emergency or economic coup? The 1933 Emergency Banking Relief Act. The final blow to lawful sovereignty came in 1933. Amid the Great Depression, President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared a national emergency. With Executive Order 6073, he closed the banks. With EO 6102, he seized the gold. Visual, newspaper clippings of 1933, people turning in gold, banks closed. Congress passed the Emergency Banking Relief Act. Under this act, the government no longer represented the people, it represented its creditors, the Federal Reserve. Gold, the foundation of lawful money, was outlawed. In its place, Federal Reserve notes, private bank IOUs, backed not by substance, but by your future labor. And under amendments to the Trading with the Enemy Act, U.S. citizens were reclassified as enemies of the state in a declared economic war. And under amendments to the Trading with the Enemy Act, U.S. citizens were reclassified as enemies of the state in a declared economic war. The Trading with the Enemy Act expanded citizens as combatants. The reclassification of the American people. The Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917 was originally passed to prevent U.S. citizens from financially aiding wartime enemies. But in 1933, it was amended. Roosevelt redefined enemy to include every American citizen. Under commercial law, you became an economic combatant. What followed was a quiet but sweeping transformation. All property, labor, and commerce could now be regulated as wartime assets, even in peacetime. This status was never reversed. It continues today under the ongoing national emergency renewed by every sitting president. Citizens to collateral, the corporate plantation, and the market of human capital. If you're wondering how this affects you today, look no further than your birth certificate. That document is not proof of life. It is a bond. Visual, birth certificate morphs into a security bond. Registered with the Department of Commerce, assigned a C.L.i.M.B. number, and traded on international markets, it is the financial instrument by which your labor is pledged to the national debt. Your social security number? A tracking number. Your driver's license? A contract of limited use privileges. Your tax returns? Proof of performance under corporate contract. You are the product. The court is the creditor. The state is the beneficiary. C.L.i.M.B.Time trusts, UCC jurisdiction, and the Buck Act. Behind the scenes, a system of trusts, bonds, and contractual obligations keeps this commercial plantation running. Under the 1666 C.L.i.M.B.Time Act, anyone lost at sea could have their estate held in trust by the government. In 1933, under emergency war powers, every U.S. citizen was legally presumed lost at sea, and a C.L.i.M.B.Time trust was created in their name. Under the Uniform Commercial Code, you are not protected by common law, but regulated as a commercial entity. And under the Buck Act of 1940, federal commercial jurisdiction was extended into the states via zip codes and income taxation. What looks like freedom is a matrix of corporate contracts, presumed consent, and economic slavery. Consent and the illusion of citizenship presumed agreement, how you were enrolled into the corporate system. It was never openly declared. You were never asked for your vote. And yet, through a chain of paperwork and presumption, you were enrolled into a system of commercial servitude. At birth, your parents signed a birth certificate, not knowing it was a registration of property, not just of life. The state, acting as trustee, created a legal entity on your behalf, a trust account and commercial vessel. Your social security application? A contract. Your driver's license? A contract. Your voter registration? Another contract. Through these instruments, you are presumed to operate as the legal fiction known as a U.S. person, a subject of corporate law. The consent trap. But here's the deception: consent does not have to be expressed. In contract law, silence is often considered agreement. This is how courts claim jurisdiction over you. You show up. You answer to the name. You don't object. This is why your name appears in all caps in court and on government documents. It is not a typo. It is a declaration that you are acting as the corporate entity, not the living soul. You were never told about this dual identity. You were never taught the difference between the natural man and the legal fiction. Because if you knew, you might just reclaim what was always yours. The enforcement machine, peace officers, prosecutors, and judges in commerce. The operators of commercial justice, and the corporate courtroom theater. By now, you've seen the paperwork, the contracts, and the hidden jurisdiction. But how is it enforced? Through the actors of the corporate legal system, peace officers, prosecutors, and judges. They appear to be arbiters of justice, but their true role is commercial. They do not enforce common law, they enforce statutes. And statutes are rules of a corporation, not laws of the land. The peace officer issues a bill of exchange, a citation. It's a bond, a commercial instrument that enters the system. The prosecutor acts as the lawyer for the state, a private corporate entity seeking settlement, not justice. The judge? He is not a neutral party. He is the banker, the administrator. His job is to manage the debt, extract your consent, and render a commercial judgment. You are not there to face your accuser. You are there to settle a corporate contract, as the surety for the legal fiction that bears your name. Debtor's prison in the 21st century. How does the corporate system punish non-performance? Through administrative remedies disguised as justice, fines, probation, jail time. Make no mistake, this is not punishment for crime. It is enforcement for unpaid commercial charges. You didn't break a law. You failed to satisfy a bond. This is the silent recreation of debtor's prison. The people are processed as inventory. The prisons are privatized. The courts are monetized. And the entire legal system becomes a conveyor belt of bonded labor. Until you challenge jurisdiction, until you correct your status, the court will presume you are the corporation. And the debt will continue to accumulate.